How do you do? We're about to unfold the story of
the Bride of Frankenstein.
She's alive! Alive!
A monster created from cadavers out of rifled graves. A tale that sent my blood into icy creeps.
Would you like to hear what happened after that?
Well, we warned you.
I just hit record. Should I keep it going? Mm-hmm. All right. You've been warned. Welcome back to Frankenstein Minute, the podcast that dissects the Universal Frankenstein film series minute by minute. My name is Bill Evenson.
My name is Thom and you join us for minute 73 of 1935's Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah, so minute 73.
It's the penultimate minute.
We're going to find, it's a penultimate minute, I agree. Yep, we're going to find out how this great romance plays out. Doesn't look good.
It starts off really lovely.
Yeah.
And then, of course, like we said last week, the monster fucks it up.
Is it lovely or is it a little creepy?
Well, they're both reanimated corpses, so there's that factor.
That makes it a little creepy.
That makes it immediately creepy, unless that's your thing, and I don't judge. The monster pats the bride's hands in a very out of focus shot.
Yeah, what the hell?
I don't understand that at all. They could have reshot that as an insert later with somebody else's hands even. It's like,
it's so
shit.
Obvious.
It's so out of focus that how that got printed, I don't even know.
I gotta assume it's deliberate. So in older movies,
I know what you're talking about, the
used.
Soft focus filter, but it's
not
not
for
that.
this.
It's not that, because it is not soft focus. It's out of focus, and you can usually visually there's a difference that you can see.
Yeah.
From one to the other, and this is just out of focus. So John Mescal was a fan of the bottle, so it could possibly be that.
That's very true. McQueen, again, to keep talking about McQueen, he talks about Whale eventually fired him, but on a different movie. Yeah, the guy who was able to produce one of our favorite things
visually
eventually gets fired from his job because
he
just
couldn't stay sober. But I've heard, I believe Ted Kent and a few other people that worked on this film said, oh yeah, he was drunk all the time, but it didn't affect his work. Well, I beg to differ, because here's a fucking out of focus shot.
Fuck you, Kent. Look at what about this shot?
Yeah, you think this is so great?
Yeah, it's not good. It's weird.
I don't understand why that is. There was.
I mean, okay, so you can kind of see it is a close up, so maybe he doesn't have the right lens for that.
Yeah, but
yeah, no, I'm trying. I know I'm reaching.
How that gets to the final print, I don't know. Maybe they just thought,
well, like you said, reshooting this would be not hard.
No,
we could probably do it by 3:00 this afternoon
with nail polish.
With nail polish.
There's my obligatory Big Lebowski reference.
Well, I did say
you did set it up.
I did set it up. You didn't have any choice.
It's weird how it made it to the final print.
Yeah,
there's a few moments in Frankenstein that are slightly fuzzy, but not.
I agree. Yeah, that's
not
true.
Anywhere near like this. This is
it's
just
weird.
Plain out of focus.
And they cut away and cut back, and it's
the same shot. Yeah,
still fuzzy.
There are cutaways to Henry and Pretorius. They're great. Henry is just like, he's got that typical Colin Clive where his face is clenched. And he's just looking at how is this going to play out.
He specifically looks up at Pretorius. It's really a cool shot to me. It's two shots, but the Pretorius one I got a minor issue with. But when he looks up, you get within less than a second, it's got to be less than a second, you get this sense of, this is important. Oh gosh, fingers, hope this goes well.
Right.
And Pretorius' shot, in my opinion, could have come from another point in the film. It doesn't.
I actually think it
it is.
I think it's part of the creation sequence.
It does seem that way. The lighting and everything. Yeah, it doesn't seem right.
Got that,
but it works. It's quick enough that it's fine.
Yeah, it's fast enough. It doesn't really take you out of it. And his expression is right. His face is tense as well, which you don't often see with Pretorius, because he's been, like we talked about, this sort of grandiloquent,
almost blasé
puppet
about
master
some of this stuff.
And just sort of queen that breezes through the film till this last sequence that we referenced, that he's not like that at all. I don't agree with Edgermont that he's having second thoughts about this, but I just think he's worried that it isn't going to play out like they thought it would.
I don't like that Edgermont stuff at all.
Stupid.
Again, next week I'm going to talk a little bit more about the novelizations and how they handle the end
Fuck up the ending.
Handle the ending. I'm not going to talk about it now.
Well, I am, so.
But I think this is a key moment. To me, it's just really that shot of Clive.
Yes.
You go from the hands to Clive, the way he looks up with intensity.
With the typical.
This is a big deal.
Typical Clive intensity,
I was going to say his first name. Septimus. This is a big deal, Septimus.
Sep. as he was known.
Because it hasn't really been, they haven't talked about it on film. And I gotta be honest, judging by the way it plays out, maybe haven't talked about it at all.
Yeah.
Is this a good idea?
What are
It's
the
kind of nice when
ramifications?
you're working on a project to at least have some sort of idea for what the goal
What the
is
end
and
goal-
how you will determine whether or not it was a success.
Yes.
And this seems to be an important part of the process right here.
Haven't really given that a whole lot of thought.
If this wasn't a really important part of the process, then maybe a little bit more of that whiskey and whatever he poured in there, because this is all happening very fast, and Clive's face shows that this is important. This matters.
You say it plays out really fast. Yes, it does when we're looking at it minute by minute, but I never got that impression before watching the film, not minute by minute.
No, I agree with
either Blu-ray DVD in the theater or my Super 8, that this rockets by like it actually does. It seemed like this took longer to play out than it actually does. And that's not a criticism, that's actually a compliment. I mean,
I actually have two thoughts on that. One, first of all, just I agree with that. It doesn't feel that way when you're watching it. But second of all, I'm sort of introducing something to it that I'm not even sure it's there, which is that the two monsters meeting is an important part of the process that Septimus and Henry have put together. That this matters. The movie doesn't tell us that. If anything, Pretorius Pretorius has already gotten his goal accomplished, essentially, because the monster was a tool to get to this point.
Yeah, I don't really think he cared so much about this union working out as much as, she's alive. We're there.
And where that's concerned, sort of a great, I mean, again, not to spoil next week, but let's see how that works out for you, Septimus. I'm just going to call him Septimus now. That could be a complete, I guess what I'm saying is, I suppose that's a construct I'm putting on it. And what's really happening is Henry's just like, oh, fuck. I hope this goes well. Whether or not it was part of the plan or if it's important at all, the monster is a wild card in your life, and he's walking around while you're doing this.
Yeah.
It matters now.
Up until this moment, the monster had been more of an inconvenience for Henry and a tool for Pretorius. I don't think either of them really cared how it played out until now, when it's like, this could go very, very wrong and end very, very badly. Or they could end up as the happiest couple you've ever seen.
Maybe this is one of the things I love about this movie, is that we can add all these layers to it. You can add those layers or tell me I'm full of shit and the movie's still great.
Right.
It can matter that these two are going to get along because it matters as part of the creation and part of the plan going forward, or Pretorius's plan or Henry's plan or anybody's plan, or it doesn't matter at all and the monster's just a wild card. Anything is valid.
I think it matters because both of them at one point or another in the film have said we can create a race.
Well, there is that.
Henry says it to Elizabeth when they're in bed.
Good point.
Who knows? I could have created a whole race and made them do my bidding and all that. Pretorius then later that same night in his apartment says basically the same thing.
Yes.
So I do think it is important. I don't think they've really thought it through, but I do think it's important.
That line right there, I don't think they've thought it through. I knew that was going to be a focus in these later minutes.
Yeah.
And it is sort of the point of Frankenstein. The story.
Yes, it is.
And every Frankenstein
all
movie.
All the way from, Mary
anything
Shelley
having to do with Shelley and
Herman
Frankenstein.
Munster, haven't
all the way to Herman Munster.
Haven't really thought it through.
Have you really thought this through? Have you really thought about the implications of what you're doing? That is the point of the story.
We dealt with that a lot when we were talking about Frankenstein.
Sure.
The ethical
you
aspect
did. I don't
of it.
remember. That was a long time ago.
And the importance of a peer review. It is like, is this a good idea?
This minute, maybe, is the shows you the fallacy of peer review. If your peer is Pretorius.
Well, peer is... Okay, that's true, too.
Did you have peer review, Henry?
Well, he thought it was a good idea.
He kind of thought I should go further.
Well, you have both sides of the scale, because Waldman was clearly against anything to do with it.
Now, that was some peer review.
Yeah.
Waldman was right.
Waldman was like the parents saying,
That's the next T-shirt. Waldman was right.
No, you're not going to ride that shopping cart down the hill, versus Pretorius is like, let's build the jump even bigger and see how far we can go. And I only say this out of personal experience.
I was going to say, that's a very specific prank. Very stunt is the right
we had a
word.
Target shopping cart, and where I lived, there was a big hill at the end of the block, and it seemed like a really good idea to put 3 or 4 of us in the shopping cart and go barreling down the hill to a plywood and cardboard ramp we had built and see how far we would go. It
sounds like a pretty good idea.
It did in theory.
I got to be honest, if I'm not mistaken, I think, have you ever heard of Jackass?
Yeah.
I feel like the movie poster for Jackass, the movie, was them
image.
all in a shopping cart.
Yes.
And what's funny now
I've got litigation pending.
Yeah, I bet.
What's
What's funny now is young people like Jeff, who's listening, who works at Target, will think of a Target shopping cart, and it'll be a much more like that doesn't sound so bad in those modern shopping carts.
Yeah, no, this
those
was
old
wire.
they barely existed between you and.
Oh no, we didn't actually see it all the way to the end because saner heads finally prevailed and called us inside and like, what the hell are you thinking?
Oh, that explains it.
We got Waldman on that one.
Waldman?
Yeah.
The monster, I feel, senses the rejection before we do.
Yes. She looks at the hands, and then she looks up at him with her eyes, again, just wide as they can be.
Yeah.
And the smile just drops immediately from his face. And he starts shaking his head sort of imperceptibly and almost muttering like, no.
Yeah. And as viewers, you can, there's still room for her to come around, it seems like. She's not completely...
she's like...
She didn't slap him. It's not... But he knows. Of course, he's right.
Yes.
So I'm not saying that. But it's interesting that he's figured it out immediately.
Yeah. And
in fact, before Henry and
Pretorius,
he's the first one to figure it out. Maybe before her.
Before her, yeah. Because then he leans in to her like, no, it's okay. It's okay. She's already afraid of you. I really don't think leaning towards her is going to help you.
He almost looks like he's going to grab her boob at one point. He goes in a little bit towards the boob.
And then there's a really cool wide angle close up. I say that because it's a wide angle lens used very close to her that distorts the picture.
Would this be Ms. Cal?
Yes, it would.
Making this great decision to do a fucked up, odd, kooky shot, artistic, not realistic looking. You notice it. What you're talking about.
It's lit beautifully, and and she lets out a scream that echoes. You could hear it echo through the soundstage technically, but the laboratory. You can hear it,
and we don't have any reason to think that's not her.
Absolutely not. That's
got to be her.
That's got to be her.
That's her big line. We teased it the other week. This is her big line. Actually, she's still got one more line.
One more coming up. And Henry pulls her away from the monster, pulls her off the couch and away from him.
And I got to say something that I don't think about, but noticing it, going over it again and again to talk about it minute by minute. Thesiger briefly starts to move forward and then changes his mind.
Yeah, it kind of pulls back.
I think it contributes to that notion that they haven't thought this through. He's not sure what to even do at this point.
Yeah.
It really comes across because, like I said, he stands up and then, maybe I should. Do you want? He just
I'll
looks
just be over here.
like he has no idea what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, he's no longer in charge, and I don't think he's comfortable with that.
It's fulfilling. It's satisfying that his character has a bit of an arc.
Yeah.
Because as unrealistic a character as he is, you could see where he wouldn't have an arc. He does, and it's not going well right now for him.
Again, I don't think I thought this quite through.
Totally. Yeah. He has no idea after having been the driving force, as I said, for this entire
the last
film,
70 minutes.
No fucking idea what to do now.
Yeah. Exactly.
We cut to a wide shot, and Henry's got her under the armpits, and she's doing these movements with her arms. She's thrusting her arms forward and up.
Oh, it's
like
great,
a weirdo.
It's just like, again, it's like, how much in control of her faculties is she? Mm-hmm. This is all brand new. If it's a brand new brain, it had never lived before.
I like that. That's part of it. But for me, too, it's also, how do I react in this situation?
Yeah, that's what I mean. She doesn't know how to react to any situation, let alone something this traumatic.
Like, I can't say it enough. Every shot that she's in, I'm tempted to honestly go through this
edit
just the shots, and even the shots where she's in one side of the screen, zoom in just to watch her.
Yeah, there's a few coming up.
Great.
There's a few coming up where Henry's in the foreground and she's in the background out of focus.
Yeah.
And your eye still goes to her.
Yeah. And that wide shot where he's got her by the armpits and she's doing this stuff with her arms. She clearly does this a lot where her arms are straight. She's got her arms out straight. And I don't know if she's trying to do something like move like you might think a corpse or a mummy might move because it doesn't have the flexibility or whatever.
Wouldn't
work or apply in this case, but I don't care. there, whatever it is, it's great because she looks great.
I always thought it's almost like a baby. Doesn't quite have.
It's a little bit like a baby. That's right.
Have the full control of, and just been dealing with a baby for the last year. So I see that a lot. They can't quite control their muscles yet.
That makes really a lot of sense too. Yeah, because she is a baby. She's a baby. Yeah, she's more a baby than he was.
She's been alive for we don't know an hour tops.
And that's brilliant because here we are with all the main players that we care about that created the first film, which was Karloff playing a reanimated corpse, and that's what he looks like when he wakes up. Yep. He looks like a reanimated corpse.
Yes.
And she isn't that. No. In any way that matters. Yeah. She's more like a baby, and that is what she kind of looks like. Yeah, it's great. Yep. I fucking love this movie. She's a weirdo. It's great.
Hate me like others.
So,
or did you have something before that?
You just led right into it. She hate me. I'm just looking at the time because you're going to want to note the time because you might want to cut all this out. This is from Richard Knight Jr.'s interview with Spike Lee at the premiere of Spike's 2004 joint, a film entitled She Hate Me. That's the name of the movie.
Yes, it is. I've seen it.
He says, I missed the explanation in the film. Where does the title come from? So Spike Lee says, there was a defunct football league called the XFL, blah, 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 blah. It was crazy and lasted like a year or so. The players were given the opportunity to put anything they wanted on the back of the jersey, as long as it wasn't profane. And this guy, Rod Smart, came up with what I feel is the sport world's greatest nickname ever, He Hate Me. I always love that. I gotta use that sometime. So then the guy says, see, and I kept thinking of the line from the interviewer says, the line from Bride of Frankenstein when the monster meets his bride and he realizes she's horrified and he turns to the doctor and says, she hate me. Spike laughs. Really? I didn't know that's in there. Really? There's no S at the end? No. It's she hate me. In the Bride of Frankenstein? I gotta get that. That just adds more resonance. And then Spike says, Bela Lugosi's Frankenstein?
Yeah! I gotta get all my Spike Lee.
And then here's the interviewer. No, Karloff. That's his response.
Okay.
I gotta get that DVD. I love that. What's funny about that to me is I found that almost by mistake because I'm familiar with He Hate Me.
Okay.
I remember that player.
No idea.
Because it says it on the back of his jersey. But he joined the NFL where you gotta put your name on there.
Right.
Did you stop cutting at 20? Anyways, it didn't take that long. She hate me like others. It just really sums up everything that's happened to him.
Yeah.
Maybe his whole life.
His whole entire existence.
Every interaction he's had with anyone has been a complete disaster.
Yeah.
The longest stable relationship I think he's had with anybody has been Pretorius. Yeah. And that was just so Pretorius could get
and that was
to this point.
Yeah, and he was being played.
His
longest relationship was with Henry, and that's been contentious.
That's a fucking disaster too.
Yeah.
But yes, Henry is we could talk more about his relationship with Henry, I guess, in that context, but it hasn't gone well.
No, it hasn't. No, that's it.
So when he says she hate me like others, we've been building to this point for, I think, mainly this film. The first film, obviously, that's true too, but I think that's what this movie's more about.
Yeah.
It's a deliberate thing that happens in this movie with the hermit, with the shepherd,
and
with
I think
all of that.
I think that plays back to they don't mention the criminal brain in this film because it's not important.
Yeah.
We have sympathy for him not because he has a criminal brain, but because she hate me like others.
Yeah.
That's where the sympathy comes from. That's where this character is built upon. And I think I know you disagree, but I think the criminal brain becomes a completely
here's the thing. I don't disagree
point.
with that. That's the problem, is that I don't disagree with that. That's why it's hard for me to defend my point about the criminal brain. And we'll talk about that more in a couple of weeks. When we have our special guest on for a minute, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
I think it just adds to that. That's all. It's just one more reason why people hate him. But that's just me, I guess. I'm the only person. But
I think that lessens the sympathy then.
Okay, so
I think that detracts from it.
God damn it! Every time I feel like I got to say this, you're assuming there's such a thing as a criminal brain, and I'm saying no, there isn't. We're all the same, and you are judging me now because he has a criminal brain, but there isn't such a thing as a criminal brain.
There is. I mentioned it before when we did
but I don't buy it then either.
I'm not sure if it's true or not, but that's science has said.
Science. What, haven't you learned anything from these movies? Science is not
Science is bad.
Science is a bad guy.
Bad.
Science bad. But yeah, that's she hate me like others.
And I think that sums up the whole character.
Mm-hmm.
That from minute one of Frankenstein to now.
Yeah.
And I don't think we need that extra baggage.
Well, I see. Fine. I'm fine with that too. Either way. But either way, we agree that this is
His whole life has been...
Either way, it's beautiful that we've reached this point in this film, this beautiful work of art, that he can say, she hate me like others, and it summarizes so much.
Yeah.
It matters that he says this.
Yes.
And it's the most important moment. It's an important moment in the film, and it defines what's going to happen now.
Yeah. Because now...
He's not wrong.
Not wrong. He's
Everyone
just an asshole.
hates you.
Yeah, because at this point, all hell literally breaks loose.
Yeah.
From now till the end of the film.
Yes.
Because he gets up off the couch and Pretorius kind of runs away from him. There's this really nice crane shot looking down over the whole set.
And again, Henry dragging the bride away by her armpits with the arms and all that stuff. I say drag. It's like it's a very smooth looking operation because she's just letting her feet.
Yeah, I think she's just dragging her feet.
Excuse me. She's sliding across the floor, just moving her arms and nothing else. It's just, again, another shot that I would zoom in on. If she's in the shot, I gotta talk about it.
Yeah, right. And the monster starts trashing the lab. Pretorius puts a table between he and the monster, which lasts about a third of a second before the monster shoves the table and breaks everything on it.
Yes.
And then Pretorius tries to do another table between them. And then we get to...
Well, here's the thing about what you just said. When I watch it again, that isn't exactly the way I would describe it, the way you just described it. He is trying to put tables between him and the monster. And that is what happens. But the monster isn't going for Pretorius. If you watch it, he doesn't do anything other than go for the lever. He is headed toward that lever. That's what it looks like to me.
But I don't think that's...
In this minute, he puts his arm
up. I know
up.
he does. I think it's just part of the trashing of the set. I don't think he's deliberately, oh yeah, there's that lever that'll blow the place to atoms.
Sure, it looks that way to me.
It does, yes, but I don't think that's the intent.
And he doesn't make a move toward Pretorius that isn't also toward the lever, is I guess what I'm saying. That second,
Pretorius keeps backing away.
Yes.
He's going back towards the lever as well.
Yes.
So the monster's following him. He's got the second table. The monster puts his arm up, and it's that point where Pretorius stupidly says, don't do that. You'll blow us all up. And the monster's like, yeah, you know what? That's not a bad idea.
That could be. But he doesn't make a move to that second table because it looks to me like, and maybe this is just me now criticizing Karloff's performance by mistake, because it looks to me like he doesn't even make a move towards that second table. Like he's like, go ahead, put a table between us. I'm not going for you. I'm going for this. But I don't know
how he would know that lever does anything.
How would anybody know? The lever is going to be of great importance.
First of all, why would you put a lever in your lab that will blow everything up in the first place?
All right, we're basically going through my notes in a different order, but I think that's a very key question.
Yes, there is, and there is a reason for it.
Okay.
Puts his arm up. The lever, there's what I feel is probably the second most famous shot from this film is the bride and Henry looking on. It's on the cover of the Dreadstone novel. That one right there.
Yeah.
You see that a lot.
Yeah.
Lobby cards, stills, the two of them looking on. I've actually seen it on a T-shirt, which maybe we should offer that too.
Yeah, what the
so
hell?
no one could buy.
Yeah, that we get sued for.
Pretorius blurts out, "Get away from that lever! You'll blow us all to atoms!" And he's striking this sort of weird,
dramatic,
silent movie pose.
Well, yeah,
which he
and that
maintains till the end of the film.
That's very true. Yes, I do want to note that lever is the correct pronunciation of that word, but on the silent version I watched as a kid, it was pronounced lever.
Lever? Was it? Okay.
Because it was silent.
Yeah.
Because we just read it off the script. The lever is really dumb. We laughed at it as kids. Now, I was the youngest, so maybe my older siblings were a little more clever, and they pointed out how fucking dumb this thing is.
Influenced your...
But it isn't just dumb to have a lever that destroys your abandoned watchtower on the outskirts of Goldstadt.
Right.
It's a dumb thing to have dramatically.
Dramatically.
Chekhov is laughing at us all that this was not introduced in the first act. The gun has been used in the third act without having been introduced in the first act, and it wouldn't have been too hard to put something in. But it's Bride of Frankenstein, so this is a mild criticism.
Yeah.
I don't care that much.
The line in the script is, "There's enough voltage in that machine to blow us all and the mountain itself to atoms," which I think is actually a little bit better.
Yeah, a little bit better.
It's still...
I would say amperage rather than voltage.
Okay, fine. You're
finally using my education
okay.
from tech school in 1989. You'll blow us all to atoms. This is obviously hyperbole. That's not true.
No, I think it's just him in the moment, scared shitless.
I just was after hearing it so many times in my life, and it's got a I don't know. Again, these movies are like songs in my head.
Yeah, little sound bites.
I can sing the way he says it.
Yeah.
I got thinking about it for this podcast, and I thought, well, blow us all to atoms. Like, this is pre-nuclear, this movie.
Yeah.
So, nuclear. So thank you. Thank you for that correction.
Yeah. I don't want you to look like an idiot.
Yeah, cut that out, please. I don't want to sound stupid.
I'll fix that in post.
I lost my train of thought. But it did get me thinking, is that what happens in a nuclear or nuclear explosion? But it isn't. Even that isn't even really what happens in that case. But
I don't think is it even physically possible to blow something completely to atoms.
Well, it did. I did briefly sort of take a little sidestep while putting together my notes about this minute and think, well, if they are really blown to atoms, then they don't exist anymore. Like that, you would destroy the monster that way. Yeah. I'm convinced that if you blew him to atoms, he probably wouldn't find
be
him.
Able to regenerate. Would find him, and he wouldn't do things for you.
Right. So I think it's hyperbole. I think
I think he's just
exaggerating.
Terrified that. Yeah. Elizabeth runs up to the watchtower door, pounds on it once, and then pulls it open. And runs inside.
Yeah, that's true. That does happen. You're right.
Wait, it's unlocked.
Yeah.
Rudy told me it was unlocked.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
No, it's fine.
She still gets stopped by a locked door.
Everything has happened so fast. Yeah, she doesn't get. Shortly thereafter,
they just left the front door open.
Not probably the best idea when you're doing what they're doing, but you're busy. You can't keep track of all the details.
And again, they've shown that they're not really
thinking this through.
Thinking this through.
Yeah. And she runs up the stairs to the lab door, which is locked, and she puts her arms through the little grate and tries jiggling the handle, and she's screaming at Henry.
Does she say undo the door?
Yeah.
Because the subtitles say undo the door.
Yeah, I think she does.
And I think that's correct, but it's just such a weird...
It's a British thing, I'm sure.
Is it?
It sounds like it to me.
Okay.
She doesn't seem too terribly fazed by the fact that Henry is standing with his arms around this proto-punk chick standing there. Doesn't react to that. It's basically let's get out of here.
Yeah, I noticed that.
First thought is, wait a minute, who the hell is she?
Well, yes, even if you take out a jealousy component, still, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
And that's to her credit.
Yeah.
She knows it ain't good.
Right. Oh, she's seen it before, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. That's a really good point. She actually probably knows immediately
exactly
what's going on here.
Yeah.
That's a good point, because I tend to separate the Elizabeths in my mind, and I forget. You're right.
That she was there for. Yeah.
She witnessed it.
Get back! Get back!
It's one of those great. Again, another McCartney song.
Yeah.
We're back to the McCartney. What's your favorite? Paul McCartney song from the Let It Be album.
Get back.
I'm going to do this as a recurring theme throughout our podcast. I've always got a McCartney song for every line that Clive emits. But the reason you pointed out is it sounds silly. It's another Cliveism that doesn't sound like any accent anybody's ever heard in reality.
Well, it's BECK, like your son.
Yeah, get back. Yes, just like my son back.
Get back.
Exactly. Get back.
Yep.
Get back.
Which is then parodied in Young Frankenstein.
You've said this before, just recently, a few weeks ago. In that case, I think he's mocking Terry Garr's accent.
I think it's a little of both.
I'll allow it.
It's a little homage. And Elizabeth says, I won't unless you come. And Henry, this is where he rushes to the door.
Yes.
I can't leave them. I can't.
We could do 10 minutes on I can't leave them, I can't. What do you got?
Yeah, you can. You can easily leave.
Good night, folks. Follow us on Instagram.
I think the smart thing would be to get the fuck out of there.
So I think there's two completely separate topics I want to talk about that line. You've gone one way, so I'll follow you down that road, which is in-universe or whatever you want to call it. I think it indicates where the character is. So we've been talking about it. We haven't talked about it a little much in the last few weeks, but overall, trying to follow Henry's progression. Is Henry just doing this because Elizabeth's been kidnapped? And there's plenty of evidence to indicate that was his primary motivation. Yeah. He's, work. The monster says, work. And he's like, where is Elizabeth?
Yeah.
He's clearly focused on that, and he's willing to do all this stuff for that reason. And for him to say, I can't leave them, I can't. And who's he talking? Who's them, right? It's the monster,
it's
the other monster, and the other monster.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing in this room, unless he means Ludwig, because he still hasn't come down the
assumes
stairs.
Ludwig and Carl are up on the roof having a smoke.
Maybe he doesn't know about Carl. He doesn't know the tragedy of Carl.
Nobody
cared.
Yeah, nobody cares about Carl.
It's possible he does. He's still talking about Carl. I can't leave Carl and Ludwig. I
Carl and
can't.
Ludwig are up there. They're having their lunch.
If you assume anything other than that, he's gone over to the dark side, right? He's
right, and that's what
in some way. There's one way you can kind of say it, which is he feels responsible for them.
Yes.
Again,
and that's where I was going. I
parent.
mean, yes, me personally, yeah, I could get out of there.
Yeah.
You should.
Yes.
Definitely. That's the smart thing to do. But he has not necessarily crossed over to the dark side, but I think he realizes his culpability in all of this.
Yes.
Maybe for the first time.
Yes.
Realizes that this was a really bad idea from the get-go. And,
yes.
that guy with the flat head,
Well, not
I'm
for
so
the first
sorry.
time, but for the first time in this scene, for
Okay.
sure.
Yeah.
But like obviously he was tortured at the beginning of this movie. But yes.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, okay, I'm sorry. I realize what a mess I made.
But I can't leave them.
I
You know, he's
can't-
got
yeah.
he's got a responsibility
Yes,
to them
it's the
as
his first
quote living beings.
yeah.
Okay, so that's one part about that line that I
Okay,
want to
yeah,
talk about. Do you
right.
know what the other part I want to talk about
Go
is?
for it. Oh, I'm not sure. But
It's
go ahead.
ADR. He's got his back turned to us.
Yes, it is.
It's added in. It's
It is.
not in the
yes,
script.
yes, definitely. Yeah, it's not in the
So,
script.
strangely enough, there's essentially a minute left in this movie.
Yeah.
And we've still got a lot to talk about. And
Yes.
that's a big part of what we're going to talk about is these changes that are made
that occurred. Yeah.
to the ending. And this is the first of them that I'm aware of.
Yes.
Is this line, because he clearly has got his back. He
Back
turns
to-
his back just long enough to say, but I can't leave them. I can't.
Yeah.
I've always had a hard time sort of trying to, and now that we're doing a podcast where we go minute by minute, it's hard for me to figure out precisely what was added. You know what I mean? But this line definitely was added.
This line was added. The next shot was added, obviously.
The next shot.
No, go, you live.
Yes.
That had to have been added.
Absolutely. Good point.
It's a shot of Karloff, again, with his arm up by the lever. That would have been very easy to throw that stuff up against the corner of the soundstage and get that shot later.
And the reason that's, quote, easy is because you assume that Jack Pierce and Boris Karloff spending 6 hours in makeup is not a big deal.
Not a big deal.
And that is true. We know that that's how they looked at it.
Yeah.
Karloff and Pierce might have disagreed. Pierce was probably happy to get work, but Karloff probably could have done without
They
it.
were both under contract, so it would have
Good point.
show up.
But reshoots? I don't know. Are reshoots
reshoots
covered?
are part of the process. Yeah.
Okay.
There's
Well-
other stuff that was reshot, the gypsy stuff.
Yeah.
That could have been shot at the same time as this
That's true.
insert was. For all
But
we know.
as you note, that shot is sort of a medium close-up. Is that what you call that? Or a medium shot?
Medium.
Maybe just a medium shot. We're not seeing... They didn't have to build a whole...
Right, that's what I'm saying. They prop up whatever Strickfaden piece of equipment that was up against the black curtain. And
Do we
shoot
still
it.
have that? Yeah, he's got it. He's happy to let us use it.
Yeah, let us. I'm sure
Strickfaden, he called yet this morning to see if he needed anything.
I'm sure he didn't let them have it. I'm sure there was some money changed hands.
Okay. Again, more as a lead into next week.
Yes.
That line was added.
Yes.
Okay. Follow us on all the places that
Well-
you're already following. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. None of this is in the script as we're talking about. And why does the monster let
I'm sorry.
him go?
A lot of it is. That's what's confusing to me. Elizabeth coming to the door and all that is
Right.
still. Like when I heard that this movie had a different ending, I thought that the Elizabeth coming to the door was added. It makes more sense to me that way. That she shouldn't show up at all,
Right.
and everybody gets killed. No, spoilers for next week.
Next week, though, that could definitely be the case, and there's a few reasons why.
Good. More lead into next week.
But my question is that why does the monster forgive Henry and let him go? And why does the Hays Code let that happen? Because essentially, he's absolved of everything he's done. Now, granted, Henry didn't personally kill anybody, which, of course, as somebody pointed out with Carl had to die because he's killed.
Somebody did point that out.
Yeah,
A
astute,
wise, astute podcaster. I think it was you, yeah, right? Or was it me? I thought it was you. Okay.
No, somebody sent me a message saying that Carl.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I forgot about
Carl
that.
had to perish because he had committed murder by taking the heart out of the young girl.
Yeah.
And so via Hays Code,
Yeah.
he had to die.
Yeah.
Which is in the script, but it's very differently played out in there, which we talked about.
Yeah, he falls over.
He just trips over and falls.
He fucking falls.
Really goofy.
So to get to the heart of the actual question, why does that happen? I don't have a good answer. I only have a really vague answer in my mind, which is if you look at degrees of guilt, Pretorius is more guilty.
Well, certainly. There's a reason why
he has to die for sure. Bride is an interesting moral question, in my opinion, because, well, again, we'll see how this plays out next week, but we all know it's a little unseemly, to be honest. The bride is innocent, I think.
She is, but...
And for a man to come on to a woman and get rejected and respond this way is pretty gross.
It is.
But I don't feel that way in this case because it's such an extreme circumstance. They're both considered abominations.
Yes.
They're both monstrous.
Right.
So all you're left with is the monster realizes this must all end. Sorry, I'm doing a Godfather reference. That's his take on it.
Yeah.
Again, does not in any way answer the question of why Henry is absolved.
Yeah.
Henry should probably go down too.
Yeah.
And in the script,
he does.
That's indeed what happens.
Yes. Both he and Elizabeth go down.
We'll talk more about that next week.
I guess we will.
If you guys wanted to, you could go to Patreon, and for just $2 a month, you can get every episode a day early on Frankenstein Thursday, and immediate access to all bonus episodes that we've produced to date.
Episodes. Are we going to get part 2 of the
shut up.
Random minutes? I'm just wondering.
I have a version of it, and I thought maybe I should just throw that up because it was just patched together like a monster.
Pretty well.
It's
there we go.
It's monster of an episode. I just threw all the parts up there, and it was like, well, it kind of works. Okay, well, there you go. Join Patreon, and you'll get that.
Works for me.
There you go. Follow us on Patreon.
You can hit stop?
Yeah, I'm going to hit stop. Whew.